Welcome to our engagement action planning training. I hope that you have come with great expectations and ready to learn. All right, so our goal is for you to be successful in creating a sustainable engagement action plan for your team. So successful completion of this course will increase your ability to, number one, understand the concept of engagement action planning. Why is it important? And how to use the Gallup portal to develop an engagement action plan. And two, explain the 5 steps to Gallup's engagement action planning and how they work together to improve employee engagement conversations. And 3, we want you to be able to use the Gallup portal for engagement action planning to develop an action plan for improving employee engagement. So I want to park here first and think about what Gallup says here. Engagement begins with the story of each individual team member. And this is really where the conversation starts. And so as you're thinking and processing this statement, might I provide my own insight of what this means? It means in order to create a highly engaged team, it's important to understand and value the unique experiences, perspectives, and what that team member brings to the table. And how you're able to do that is taking the time to get to know each team member on a personal level and really understand their unique motivations and goals. And what happens is now you are creating a team environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives. And this is true right here. When team members feel valued and respected, they are more likely to be engaged in their work and to contribute to the success of the team. And you know what else it does? It helps them to be more loyal to the team and to the organization. So, what is the buzz around what is engagement action planning? Well, Gallup defines it as a process for identifying and addressing the root causes of low employee engagement. And so it's taking those steps to improve employee engagement based on the results of employee engagement survey. And so let's think about how we can normalize engagement conversations. And so here we want to think about it in the context of everyday engagement. But first, let me minimize everyone's anxiety about this merely being another task or check the box initiative. No, engagement should be woven into everyday work activity. So take a moment and shift your mind away from it being difficult or talking yourself into thinking it's time consuming. So the Q12 questions really help managers to have those coaching conversations about what that employee needs. So let's take the first Q1 question. I know what is expected of me at work. So how can we normalize this? How can we create an engagement conversation around this question? Well, one, this is where you integrate this into your weekly check-ins, your team meetings, your one-on-ones, or your team huddles. And so the one thing that you want to ask is, what are you uncertain about? How can I better support you in this area? You see that? So this is how you're able to show up for that employee when they're asking questions, and you're able to force clarity in this area. And so let's look at another one. Q4. In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. And so this one is actually pretty simple. This is where you acknowledge someone who has done a great job in an area or meeting a deadline, or during the meeting, you acknowledge the great work and the win that they provided for that department. So it doesn't necessarily have to fall on the manager. This is the co-worker doing this. This is anyone who's a part of the team. So think about this as engagement conversations that managers can integrate into everyday daily interactions with employees. So it's really our hope that implementing the Q12 questions will transform the way managers work with their team and create a culture of engagement. So one of the frequently asked questions is, how would I integrate daily engagement interactions if I don't see everyone daily? Great questions. So this is where you want to be creative. There's no one size fits all approach to integrating the Gallup Q12 questions. So you want to experiment with different approaches to find out what works best for your team. And so one of my suggestions would be is to use technology to your advantage for check-ins, incorporating the Q12 questions into existing communication channels, such as, again, team meetings, emails, team chats. Just be creative and do what works best for you and your team so you can keep the conversation going. Now, Gallup's most profound finding ever, I think, is probably this: 70% of the variance in team engagement is determined solely by the manager. And I know that seems like a lot of pressure, but truly attitude reflects leadership. So that means that the manager is not only the most important determining factor in how the team engages, but the team is watching the actions and the behaviors of how the manager shows up, because it creates a significant impact on the team members' motivation, productivity, and really just overall employee satisfaction with their work. And another thing that Gallup mentions is that frontline managers in particular are the most crucial lever which it comes to engaging in an organization employees. So when managers are burned out, and you know it is real, they become disengaged and the organizational performance suffers. But when managers are engaged at a high level, the team shows up and their success soars. So by having daily conversations with employees, managers move towards creating, again, a culture of engagement. When managers learn how to effectively engage employees through conversations, they also improve the way that they manage performance. The managers who are the most successful at engaging their employees have conversations about engagement in the workplace often. Now, we're getting ready to take a bit of a transition where we're going to talk about the 5 steps of engagement action planning. So step 1 is prepare. But there are 2 questions I want you to consider as we discuss the first step. First question, I want you to personalize this as a manager. What's my team's story? And so as we all know, the Q12 results report provides clues about a team's engagement story. And that is where you would gain initial understanding. And then 2, the second question I want you to consider, are my team's foundational needs met? Now, it's true that some things are out of your control, but what's within your control, this is where you want to make sure that you're showing up for your team. So as you're thinking about reviewing and analyzing the Q12 results to prepare for the conversation with your team, I want you to think about where is some areas where you see the struggle based on the numbers. So be prepared to actively listen. So you want to start with a Gallup Q12 single report. So not only do you want to possess a copy of this, you want to make sure every team member gets a copy as well, because this is how they'll also be able to prepare for the conversation. And this report is a valuable tool for preparing for the Gallup engagement action planning conversation. And you may ask yourself, why do I need this report to have a conversation? All right, well, there's 3 benefits of using this report. For one, it provides a snapshot of employee engagement. It's a quick and easy way to identify areas where you need to focus your improvement areas. And then this report breaks down employee engagement to those 12 key drivers, which are the questions. And it can help you pinpoint the specific factors that are influencing engagement levels in your department. So the one thing that I love the most is that it highlights opportunities for improvement, which will provide actionable insights that you can use to develop your engagement action plan. So one of the frequently asked questions is, who gets the report? Very good question. So managers with 4 or more direct reports who completed the survey will receive a report. Gallup refers to these team members as respondents. So please note, managers themselves do not count towards the 4 respondent total. So if you have 3 team members plus yourself, you will not receive a report. Now, managers with less than 4 direct reports who have 4 or more team members in their reporting structure who complete the survey will get a roll-up report showing results of respondents who report to them through different managerial levels. And so the best way you can educate yourself in this area is consulting with our ODE website, where you will find a more in-depth video around the Gallup portal overview. And this is where you'll not only be able to access your one-pager, you'll be able to review the results, and you'll understand the results and filter the data through reporting groups and how to create heat maps. And by the end of this presentation, I should be able to show you where to find the resource on our page. Now, I want you to think about what you want to achieve from the conversation. So still in step 1, another part of this process is preparing your meeting agenda for the engagement talk. And so I'll share in a few slides down what to include in the agenda. But first things first, you want to get the logistics out of the way. Select a date and time where team members can be present, and think about a Q12 related item that you want to give attention to, such as, I know what is expected of me at work. And if your team is really performing because they have all the resources or they're clear about what they need to do, and that's where the conversation is going to count. But then there may be a low scoring item or just an item that have declined from the last year that you want to address. But whatever the case, don't delay in scheduling a team meeting to address those issues. So my hope is that after this presentation that you will get on board and schedule that meeting and start the engagement conversation immediately. All right, so now once you have gathered your team, you got them together in the same place. Now, it may be possible that some of your team members are hybrid. Still include them in the meeting. And so when you get them all together, you want to thank them for taking the Gallup survey and use this meeting as a follow-up to take a deeper dive into each question. So here we crafted a sample conversation starter so that you can, thank them and show gratitude towards them taking this survey and being completely honest. Now, you shouldn't even think about starting an action plan until you've talked with your team and had this conversation. So this step is critical when you think about inclusiveness and others sharing their thoughts. And so that's why it's important that you thank your team for their feedback and let them know that you appreciate their honesty and that you are committed to taking action to improve employee engagement in your department. And you also show your commitment as being an active listener and inviting the feedback. And the feedback may not feel great. It may feel personal, but in the interim, you want to think about how are we going to move the areas that we need to improve in from point A to point B. But first things first, ask the question that is going to matter the most in that moment. How can we improve? All right, so step 2. When you're thinking about creating an engagement action plan, make it manageable, where it's an everyday occurrence. And so this is where you're going to get with your team and you're going to name 1 to 3 of your lowest scored items or prioritizing which items that you want to improve engagement. But remember, you can't really identify that unless you have already reviewed the report in step 1, and that's that preparation period. Now, Gallup recommends that we choose up to 3, but you really can just focus on 1. What would be the benefit of focus on that 1 item so that you can get the ball rolling? Now, as you review the Gallup scores with your team and discuss what they mean, if you need additional guidance on how to read the scores, as mentioned before, consult the Gallup overview video that's going to be featured on our ODE site. Now, for the sake of this training, I'm only focusing on how to have the conversation around the Q12 items on this one pager. Now, When you're thinking about creating an engagement action plan, make it manageable. Again, remember, we want to think in terms of everyday engagement. Now, sometimes focusing on that one item simultaneously impacts another related item. Now you feed two birds with one stone. And so Gallup already reveals which two items from your survey are comparatively the lowest as compared to other higher ed institutions. So you may consider choosing other related items on the Q12 questions on the survey and decide that particular item takes precedence over the lowest scores. Again, this is the conversation that you're going to have with your team, because you want to know where the opportunity lies for them as they look at the results. And so this really can improve tremendous overall impact over the engagement in that specific area. So nonetheless, this is a discussion you want to involve your team. Now, another frequently asked question is, how can I have an engagement conversation with my team if I don't know how to interpret the results? And so I know I've already referred you back to our website, but here's just a quick and easy answer. You want to analyze the individual Q12 scores. Look into each Q12 question and identify areas of strength and weaknesses. And the best way to do that is understand that the report is based on a 5-point Likert scale, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So you want to look at patterns or trends across the team's responses to pinpoint specific areas where engagement can be improved or enhanced. And so think about it in terms of a leafy green plant. A plant that is healthily thriving is a vibrant green plant, right? So what are some of the indicators that the plant is in trouble? So think of your engagement scores in that way. Maybe the plant has yellow petals, a light green petal, or red petal. Those are indicators that it's in trouble. So think of your engagement scores in the same way. Address areas for improvement. Focus on the question with lower scores to identify specific areas where engagement can be improved. Now, engage in open and honest conversations with your team to understand the underlying reasons for their responses. And you won't know that unless you ask the questions. And so this is going to be a game changer for you, I guarantee you. This is where now you want to ask your team members for their input. Remember, I talked about having that agenda prepared. This is the agenda, because not only are you finding out where they are at in their engagement activity, but you want to start asking the questions about what were they thinking when they were answering these questions. And so this is a guiding question template. And I'll just read the first one just to give you an example of how you can integrate this into your meeting. So you would ask everyone the same question. How do you define each of the Q12 related items? And so you want to make sure that you're documenting some of the answers, so you'll be able to apply that to the engagement action plan when you think about specific actions that you can take to improve in that area. So you want to make sure that you don't discount anyone's answer, and think about how that feedback can really advance the outcomes of where you're trying to go and changing your engagement narrative. Now, there's another question, a frequently asked question about what if I'm only a team of one? I only have one person on my team. So this applies to all of you who are people managers. So yes, even if you have one person on your team, their answers still matter and they're valuable. So I would encourage you to still set aside time to go through each question and identify areas you want to improve. All right. So remember, as you're still having that conversation, you're documenting, you're writing down those areas that you and your team have agreed you want to focus on. So you want to even continue to reference that one pager and think about the Q12 related items that you want to address immediately. And so remember, as you're documenting these key areas from the conversation, you want to still actively listen for what's important to your team. All right, so remember, step 1 was prepare. Step 2 was identify. Now 3, we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss with the team specific actions you will take as a team to improve your engagement score with the related items. So whatever steps you decide on, make it actionable. That means it creates movement. These actions should be concrete but achievable activities. And remember, you want to think in terms of everyday engagement. How can we normalize this and make this an everyday occurrence? So if you make them too broad and complicated, that may hinder your ability to make progress. People lose interest. They'll see it as a check the box initiative, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure whatever specific actions that you choose to move the needle from point A to point B, that it fits into the everyday workload of your employees. Now, so when we discuss specific actions, I want you to think about this in the way of a question. So although we're asking you to be specific about areas that need improvement, what are some of those areas that need specific improvement? Where can we focus on the things that we can control? Do we have the resources available so that we can be successful in advancing this engagement action plan? And are these deadlines realistic? And so those are some of the things that you want to ask yourself. Now, the fourth step is record. And so after your team discussion, you want to enter those plan details into the Gallup Access portal. Now, remember, in step 1, you prepare. Step 2, you identify. And step 3, you discuss those specific actions. Now, this is where you're going to go into the portal and record your engagement action plan. And there is a video, another video where you can access that walks you step by step on our ODE website. And I'll show you at the end of the presentation how to access that resource. And so nonetheless, you're still having a conversation around the information you captured during the discussion. And as you're getting ready to prepare to enter this into the Gallup portal, I want you to think about, do you need to make any edits? Do you need to make any changes? So you're having these conversations, even though it may appear as final, it's not. You can still make edits and changes based on what the team think is important. And so you want to, this also helps to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that the plan is implemented correctly. So still continue to ask, is there anything else you want to add? Are there any other changes that we need to make? Are there any specific actions that we want to take? So that's how you're still having that conversation. And so some managers may even wonder, why do I have to record this plan in the Gallup Access portal? Well, it adds that extra layer of accountability and ownership among the team members, because if you write the vision and you want to make it plain, you're able to see it, is easier to achieve it. And then it also improves communication and collaboration. Everybody sees the same thing. And then you want to think about the data-driven decision-making and continuous improvement for the engagement plan. Think about your own commitment to employee engagement. And last but not least, it really just helps with achieving long-term engagement and team success. So you want to make sure you record your engagement action plan into the Gallup Access portal. All right, step 5, you want to follow up. This is an ongoing step where it requires consistent follow-up and follow-through as the team continues to track progress. And so this will help to identify areas where the plan is working well and areas where it needs to be improved. You're still having a conversation. You're still thinking about what more can we do, especially if the plan appears to be at a standstill or people started losing interest. Find a way to draw them back in by having the continuous conversations in those team meetings, in those one-on-ones, finding out how you can continue to advance the engagement action planning process. Now, so our recommendation is to review the action plan with your team. You want to continue to track progress, have those conversations often, communicate with your team about any changes so we can continue to push the plan forward. And then even the smallest things, you want to celebrate the success. So you don't want to discount anything small because it's still big for the team. Now, I want to leave you on this thought. Engagement is a process, not an event. Now, for any additional questions or consultation needs or for immediate assistance, reach out to our ODE team via email, ode.untsystem.edu. So I'm going to stop this presentation and show you how to access the ODE website for additional resources so that you can manage the engagement action planning process successfully. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to pull up how to access our website. All right. So you are going to choose the employee self-service single sign-on where you use your EUID and password. And so this is just one of the quickest ways to get to our website, the myhr.unt.edu. And so you're going to look for the employee engagement tile. And so mine just happened to be in the bottom right-hand corner. So you'll select this tile and voila, this takes you right to our ODE website. And as you can see under our Gallup menu, you're able to access the engagement results where you can understand each question. The Gallup portal overview that I mentioned during the presentation, this is where you will be able to understand your results, the roll-up in how to create a heat map, the engagement action plan toolkit. This helps you to navigate through the Gallup Access portal manually. And then right here, using the action planning tool video, this shows you step-by-step how to enter the engagement action plan into the Gallup portal. And here are some additional resources and frequently asked questions. So I am excited about your journey for the engagement action planning process. And thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to hear from you and so that we can add another layer of support. Thank you.